So, integral humanism. Is it a third way for the modern world? You might hear that and think it's some forgotten 20th century idea. But what if I told you it's seeing a huge resurgence right now? Well, we're going to dig in and find out exactly why. And we're not going to start this explainer in the history books. Nope. We're starting right here, basically. November 2023 in Goa. You're looking at a gathering of 90 professors, all there to talk about this one political philosophy. So the big question is, why now? What's going on? Okay, so what is this idea exactly? And more importantly, in a world that's grappling with a lot of stuff, why are people suddenly looking at it as a practical alternative? Let's get into it.
All right, so to really get the idea, you have to understand the person who came up with it and, the time he was living in.
So let's go back. Picture this. It's 1947. India has just gained its independence. I mean, the air is electric with hope, but also a ton of really big questions. What's next? Which way do we go? Do we follow the capitalist model from the West? Or do we look at the communist and socialist ideas that were popping up everywhere? The country was literally at a crossroads. And right into the middle of this huge debate steps a man named Pandit Deendayal Upadhyaya. Now, he was a major figure in the RSS and the Bharatiya Jana Sangh, which was the forerunner to today's BJP. He was a deep thinker, and before his mysterious death in 1968, he put forward this vision that he felt was perfectly suited for India's path forward. So, what was this big vision of his? Well, it's a philosophy he called Ekatma Manav Darshan, which translates to integral humanism. At its core, integral humanism was about rejecting the big isms of the day. Upadhyaya looked at Western capitalism and Soviet communism and said, you know what? They're both flawed, they're both way too materialistic, so he proposed a third way, a more holistic approach to building a nation, one that was deeply rooted in India's own culture and its own spiritual foundations. And what's really interesting is where this philosophy starts. It doesn't start with money or government. It starts with you, the individual. It says a person isn't just an economic animal or some cog in a big machine. No, we're an integrated whole made up of 4 parts: the body, the mind, the intellect, and the soul. And the argument goes, for a society to really work well, it has to take care of all 4 of those parts for its people. And following that, there are 4 big goals for a good life. Now, one of them is artha, which is wealth. Sure, money's important, but look how it's balanced out by the other 3. Dharma, which is like our moral compass, our duties; kama, our desires and passions; and moksha, which is ultimate spiritual liberation. So you see, getting rich is just one piece of a much, much bigger puzzle of what it means to live a full life. Okay, so that's the individual. But how do you apply that to a whole country? Well, this is where a key concept called chi comes in. The easiest way to think of it is as the soul of a nation, right? Just like you have your own unique personality, the argument is that a nation has one too, a sort of collective character that's been shaped by its history, its culture, everything that makes it it. And this is where it gets really political. The idea is, for a country to actually succeed, all of its policies, its economy, its laws, everything, have to be in tune with this national soul, this chi. Trying to just copy-paste a system from another country, whether it's capitalism or communism, is just not going to work. It's like a body rejecting a foreign organ. The thinking is, it's bound to cause problems and eventually fail. So, you can see how this line of thinking puts it in direct opposition to the big ideas of the time. It really sets up integral humanism as this distinct third way. From where Upadhyaya was standing, both capitalism and communism had the same basic problem. They were all about the material world and nothing else. He saw capitalism as just a mad dash for profit where everyone's competing against each other. And yeah, communism was a reaction against that, but it was still all about material stuff. It just gave control to the state instead of the individual, and he believed that totally crushed a person's spirit. This chart here really lays it all out. Just look at the core belief. Capitalism, you're an economic unit. Communism, you're part of a class. But integral humanism, you're that whole integrated person we talked about. And the driving force changes completely. Instead of competition and conflict, it's about cooperation and harmony. And this last one is huge, the view of nature. It goes from being something to exploit to being part of a whole system we need to live in balance with. So, there you have it. That's the philosophy in a nutshell. But that brings us right back to where we started. Why is this conversation happening today? Remember these folks, the 90 professors back in Goa? Well, they weren't just there for a history lecture. They were getting into the nitty-gritty, talking about the philosophy's policies and applications for our world, right now. And check this out, the official goal of their workshop. It wasn't some dry political or economic thing. It was, and I'm quoting here, to spread the idea of oneness. That tells you a lot about how people are thinking about this idea today, as a possible way to bring people together in a world that feels pretty divided. So what's the bottom line here? Well, this sudden interest in integral humanism isn't just a random event. It's part of this much bigger, global search for different ways to run our societies. People are looking for models that are more, well, human. Models that try to get that tricky balance right between our individual needs and the health of our communities and, the planet itself. And that really just leaves us with one final big question to chew on. As we all deal with these huge challenges, social divisions, environmental crises, you name it, is it possible the answers aren't in some brand new idea, but in looking back and maybe rediscovering wisdom from the past? It's definitely something to think about.